We got new details today from police in Michigan after the deadly shooting on the Michigan State campus earlier this week. Officials say the gunman legally purchased the 2 handguns that were found on him, but they were not registered. He also had additional magazines and ammunition. We're going to have more on those developments in a moment. But just hours before we got that update from officials in Michigan, we witnessed another mass shooting, this one at a mall in El Paso, Texas. It left 1 dead and 3 injured. And what's an almost unbelievable coincidence, if you want to call it that, the shooting in El Paso occurred next door to the Walmart where 23 people were killed in a different mass shooting in 2019. Folks, today is the 47th day of the year, 2023, and there have already been 72 mass shootings in America, according to a definition by the Gun Violence Archive. 72. Some of those 72 incidents receive more attention than others, but every one of them is a tragedy with real people and communities impacted. And despite the gravity, the reality is that the mass shooting situation has largely become background noise in American life. It is a fact of life in this country. And despite years and years of calls for action, the politics of the issue are unbending and right now largely immovable. Connecticut Democratic Senator Chris Murphy reintroduced his comprehensive background check bill again today. But we've barely heard a murmur on Capitol Hill on any plans to actually move the legislation forward. After multiple mass shootings in his home state, in Monterey Park and Half Moon Bay a few weeks ago, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said he would not commit to bringing up any new gun legislation until he had more information. What makes the impasse in Washington all the more frustrating, though, is that there is overwhelming public consensus for action, and not for something radical, not confiscating guns, just simply laws that mandate universal background checks on gun purchases, including more than 8 in 10 gun owners, according to an NPR poll last year. But as is the case with so many issues today, too many political leaders feel as if they need to cater to the loudest voices in their most extreme wing of their caucus. And the harsh political reality on this issue is that until lawmakers start to face political pain at the ballot box for being outside the mainstream on this issue, the dominant force on gun reform will remain polarization, paralysis, and inaction. Despite the fact that we are on pace for nearly 600 mass shootings in America this year alone. And that doesn't even cover, sadly, the day-to-day gun violence that if you live in a city like Washington or New York or Chicago or you name it, that takes place every night. Joining me now from East Lansing is my colleague Kathy Park. And Kathy, I know we have new details on how these weapons were acquired, that they were legally purchased. What else did we learn about the gunman?
Yeah, I think there were a couple of pieces of information released today that kind of stood out, Chuck. You mentioned earlier that the gunman was able to apprehend 2 firearms, 2 handguns legally, but they were not registered. He also had additional magazines. But there was also a note that authorities were able to find on the suspect when he removed himself away from campus a couple of miles away and took his own life. They found a note, and in that note, he alluded to targeting other locations and also said that he was slighted by other businesses as well as people. So there are some clues there as a possible motive. But right now, officials are not pinpointing a specific motive at this time. They're still asking for the public's help as they kind of comb through some of the surveillance footage here on campus, as well as the route that this individual took off campus. And then they also interviewed his father as well, who alluded to the fact that he turned. His mental health turned. He got angry quickly after his mother passed 2 years ago. So all of these things are being looked into as a possible motive and carrying out this horrible attack here on the campus of MSU.
Kathy Park, covering another one of these mass shooting tragedies where we're still searching for more answers. We have more questions and answers as usual.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.